Tech Cocktail Sessions, educational and inspirational talks from experienced startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders.
Thanks, Frank and Jen, for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity to share my story. I'm going to talk a little bit about business development as dating. I'm not going to overextend the metaphor too much, but I think the best way to really go through it is just kind of tell my story. So I was an Army Ranger. A few months after getting back from Baghdad, I was at Harvard Business School and saw a need to help a community that I cared about. Specifically connect with one another. Initially, we wanted to be this like Craigslist meets eBay for the military. That was the initial idea. And that was the academic field study. Not a scalable business, but I'll get to that. At the end of the field study project, we got some angel funding. We got David Tisch to sign on, a few friends and family. But all of my other MBA classmates kind of went their own way because we were all carbon copies of each other. The burn rate would have just been faster, and it was just kind of me sleeping on a buddy's couch, technically homeless, just trying to get enough traction to get this thing off the ground. And what I knew that we had to do is we needed to solve a distribution problem, and we needed to solve a verification problem in order to make sure that this was, an actually gated, exclusive marketplace. And as we looked out at different companies that could enable that, the only company that came to mind is a Fortune 100 military bank. Unfortunately, I'm on camera and I'm under an NDA, so I can't name them explicitly. Although if you go to TroopID or TroopSwap, it'll become fairly obvious. And realize that they could really, they could really get us to that level of critical distribution, critical mass, data, et cetera. And so I knew I had to get an in. David connected me to some military folks, and the thing I love about startups is that just through hard work and chance, I got an email from a retired colonel who's also a Harvard grad who's trying to recruit me to the Harvard Alumni Association in Atlanta, where I'd done an internship. And I said, hey, sir, good to hear from you. Doing my own thing, trying to make it as an entrepreneur. And he goes, what's TroopSwap? He goes, I was in the Army, and so I tell him. He goes, oh, I know General Chrisman, former superintendent of West Point, who's a board member of the financial institution that we wanted to do a deal with. So brings me to my first point. Get an introduction through a mutually respected source. I had a good buddy who was trying to pick up a waitress at a restaurant. And so he took a little packet that said sugar, and when he came up, he dropped it on the table and he said, excuse me, miss, you dropped your name tag. And she looked at sugar, and just not even a smile, just stone cold, just shook her head and like walked off. Not an effective tactic, right? Much more effective to get somebody that, is like, hey, this guy's a really good guy, he's really smart, you guys should talk or grab a drink or go out to dinner. Much more effective way to start a relationship. So General Chrisman was that. So I came down, it was the weekend of the Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert rally, slept in a buddy's closet, his walk-in closet, because he'd already given his couch to someone else to sleep. Meet General Chrisman in what used to be the White House mess, looking around at everyone in suits. Pretty sure I'm the only guy who woke up in a closet. And give him the pitch. And he loved it. So he brokered the connection to two EVPs at the financial institution. When I got down there, and I met them in Texas, and as I was talking to them, I explained what we wanted to do, and I was like, here's something that could really change the way that the military community interacts. It'd be a trusted Craigslist. And I was like, I want an investment, I want distribution, I want your help verifying, and we're gonna add millions of users and value to your membership, right? They actually loved it, but at the same time, they're a huge organization. So they said, we're very interested in financing, we wanna move forward. Awesome, so I go back, and for the next 2 months, I'm like, I've landed my key client. Then nothing happens. So 2 months later, I go, hey guys, what are next steps? And they go, well, fast for us is 18 months. Normal is 24 months. 4 months of runway left just to sustain me, and I'm all by myself. And that's where I called up my mentor, Kelly Purdue, and I said, hey, I don't think this is gonna work. He said, first, never say that ever again. He goes, if you're gonna raise money from people, you can't tell them it's not gonna work. He goes, and you're gonna make it happen. So had a decision point, had about $6,000, close to $100K in debt, $8,000 left. That's personally 8K left for the company, made a decision to move down to Washington, D.C., because I thought it was the right place to move the company. Didn't show desperation, outwardly as we were kind of talking with investors and everything else, and kept it going. And eventually got to a point with the folks at USA where I said, well, I screwed up. Hopefully they'll forgive me if they see it, because that was unintentional. But got to a point where I said, look, I either need you guys to move or this is not gonna work out. And so our champion there was like, okay, let me see what I can do. And the business development guy said, hey, look, too early to risk 9 million members on it. So this brings me to my next point, which is I learned to tailor my ask and not to show desperation. So I said, okay, got it, it's too early. The one thing that you can give me that will allow me to actually prove that this is a scalable business is access to your military status for your members, so I can at least verify. I'm going to do deals and discounts. It's a behavior that you already see across the country, and let me show you that I can scale this merchant network. Just give me access to a web service that you've already built internally. And our champion, because he loved us and believed in the idea, had the Shadow IT group and the Shadow Legal group. He goes, I can't put you through the full procurement process yet because it'd kill you. And that one champion put us through this procurement process, and we got a web service live in August of 2011, about a year after that. Because we got the web service deal done, raised $1 million from angels. One of my classmates who'd been working on me with the field study quit his job at Goldman Sachs, drove from LA to Washington, D.C. without stopping, and we hired a VP of product and a senior engineer. Senior engineer is now our VP of engineering. And I think one of the other things that helped me, after, no one likes desperation. That's especially true for dating, and I don't have a story for that one. It's just never show that you're desperate, ever. So it's just having that inner turmoil, but outward confidence that things will work out and that hard work and persistence will pay off. And so, so at that time, as we're moving forward, we have what we need to grow. We also wanted some marketing and distribution to help us grow. And whenever you sit down with a big company, there's always going to be someone who owns a business line that has interests that are inimical to yours. So there was a portfolio investment that this company had made, and the people who ran that portfolio company said, we think that you're competitive with this portfolio company. So I said, okay. What company is it, and where are they headquartered? And I flew to Boston, got a meeting with Jeff Busgang at Flybridge, talked to the CEO of that portfolio company, who's an Air Force veteran, was like, do you think that we're competitive? He goes, no. He goes, and actually between you and me, his fish is big enough for you guys to play, and we're launching with one of their biggest competitors in a month. So I went back to our champion, and I said, got the CEO and the COO of the company that you guys invested in to say that we're not competitive. You can call them if you like to double check me. And they're launching with your biggest competitor. So our champion then internally went back and said, hey, did you guys know they're launching with our competitor as well? They said, oh, no, that can't be true. And then a month later when they launched with the competitor, he texts me and he's like, it shouldn't feel so good, but it does. So I had built, trust and credibility, and at that point, the folks inside that organization who wanted to block us were disarmed, right? I'd built enough political capital and trust. And I was like, hey, I was a combat recon platoon leader. I don't give bad poop. So, so that helped us establish, the relationship. I think the next thing that we needed to do was manage expectations. And when you think about managing expectations, one of the most powerful things about relationships is when you reach a certain point, you can begin to plan for the future. And so, what is it that you want out of this relationship, and what is it that I want out of this relationship, and wouldn't it be neat if we could make the world look like this together? And once you set those expectations, if I can go out and land X client, would you give me access to distribution? Then I go out to the client and I go, if you set up this program for military that is already in your stores, not only can I verify that client's Under Armour, I can deliver at least 2.5 million impressions. And then you can go back a month later and you go closed. And so that ultimately allowed us to build a relationship based on mutual trust and kind of bird dogging every obstacle, flying to Boston, not sleeping a whole lot, having the conversations with the right people. that led to a really powerful relationship. So we went live with Under Armour, Telluride Ski Resort, and Veterans Affairs November 12th of this year, so almost 2.5, 3 years since the initial conversation, about 2.5 years since we incorporated. Signed up 46,000 users between November 12th and December 31st. Go live with Tough Mudder next week, Overstock.com a few weeks after that, and we literally have, I think it's 20 Fortune 500s that have given us a verbal commitment to integrate in this quarter. It's unbelievable. And that brings me to my last point, which is just be a good dude. Because like ultimately the truth will find you out. But if you have integrity, if you have honesty, if you don't quit, and if you're passionate, that's the stuff that underpins all relationships, not just dating, especially, you know, if you believe in monogamy, you're going to have to build more than one relationship for a business. So it underpins all relationships. Be a good dude, be trustworthy, and never quit. And it is really, really exciting. So I hope I haven't gone too far over. Thanks.